the login page of our eSNOOPI Pro development environment. So what we've got here is we'll log in, and I will show you guys kind of the steps that a bridge user is expected to take in order to review and approve of a bridge study in the new eSNOOPI Pro system. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to let us know, and we'll get those answered for you. So without much further here, on the login page, we do have this sign in as SAW user. This is the button you will be using to sign into the system. In production, you will only see this login option for sign-in users. You will not see this login below option. The reason for that is because we're in a dev environment or development environment. You will not see the SAW users option in production when you go to log in production. So you only have this single option. So what you do is you'll click sign in as SAW user, and at this time, by the time you get to this page and you start reviewing bridge studies, it's expected that you will have you already have a login. So I'll just go ahead and log in with my user, bridge user, and we'll just hit submit. Once you log in, the system will take you to this accept or update assigned location. My user is set to a default of CVS permits. So Justin, I'm not sure if Bridge would have other locations that we would have them assigned to, but for my test user here, I've just assigned this user to CVS permits HQ.
And that's where they're set up in current eSNOOPI as well, and that works for us. If we can default them to that, that'd be fine. Otherwise, just click on it.
Perfect. We'll set the users to CVS permits HQ as well. Like I said, once you get to this screen, it defaults to that selection, and you can just hit submit. And that takes you to what we call the dashboard. So on here, as a bridge user, you've got a couple of things that you can do on this particular screen. You can do an advanced search if you click here. This allows you to search for permits that have been issued or started within the system. It will let you search for companies or users within the system. You also have the ability to search using this particular drop down here. Also, if you know what the company name might be, what their DOT number might be, and any other pertinent information such as the permit number or permit ID. You can also search for state or company users if you selected one of these particular options. So that's just a couple of the functionality that you'll have available to you on the dashboard. What we'd like to show you here is if you look on the left-hand side, there is a Bridge Studies link right here. This Bridge Studies link opens up the Bridge Study search parameters. It gives you the list of bridge studies that have been created in the system, and then the bridges that have been crossed over each of these permits. So if you look here, the very one at the top is the latest, what we like to call a bridge study that's been created. It's been assigned an ID of 146, and the count will continue to go up whenever new studies are created. And we can see that this particular permit is tied to permit ID 9695. There are 3 bridges on this particular bridge study. So this permit crosses 3 bridges. The GVW for this one is 205,000. And you can see here, this column shows you that this bridge study has not yet been approved. You can also have the ability to search for any particular bridge studies or filter through any particular bridge studies using this search filters here. And then you can also enter in the parameters you see here, whether it's a bridge study ID, permit number, permit ID, or even GVW. You got a few options with each of these drop downs. You have the is, greater than, less than, or between for each one of these options. And then you also have the search by company name, which would let you narrow down the search to any specific companies. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open up this first bridge study. So the very first one here, you can see there's an actions column here with an arrow pointing to the right. Once we click that, that will open up what we call the bridge study page itself. It gives you, again, the quick details of this permit of this bridge study. and the permit type that's associated to the bridge study. It doesn't have a permit number yet because this permit's not been issued yet. So it's got none. It does have an internal identifier, the permit ID 9695, and the GVW is listed at the bottom. So you have a couple of things here that's available to you. As you can see, it lists the 3 bridges that are crossed on this permit. It gives you the structure number, the roadway name, the milepost, which right now at the moment it's showing 0.0 for these. We'll need to revisit that whenever we finish up our bridge study, Brit 9 tasks that are in progress. And of course, the structure name. So we open up one of these bridges. There's a little icon right here, the chevron. When you click, it'll open up this bridge and gives you a little more details about it. This one here is set to, all of the bridges that you'll see coming through the system will set to pass with no restrictions. So what we're going to provide to you here is a list of these bridges that are crossed on this particular permit or any particular permit in general. You can review these as needed. And then what we also provide you here is the other actions. If you click this, you have the ability to export the axles to Excel and the study itself to Excel. So, for example, if this particular permit had, 50 or 100 bridges on it, it would be a lot to go through on this particular screen. But we do give you the ability to export it to Excel. So if you export that to Excel here, it'll give you this spreadsheet of their bridges, the structure ID, any notes, and the pass with no restrictions on it. Just give you a quick view, and you'll be able to sort and filter, of course, on an Excel spreadsheet. You also have the ability to export axles to Excel. So we do that. It'll
Hey,
just
Kit.
Yes, sir.
It looks like Muhammad has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Mom.
Is there a way to, instead of having the structure ID, to have the bridge number? Structure ID is really hard to figure where the bridge is. We can tell where kind of by the bridge number, kind of approximate location on the system.
Michelle, do you know if the bridge number is a number that we get in the call from, or that we've gotten from them in the data?
Yes, we should have it. So is this same number what's shown in the Excel sheet then? I didn't notice the Excel sheet, sorry.
No,
There's
Oh,
nothing.
that's just a structure ID on the spreadsheet.
Yes.
So each structure ID is associated with the bridge number. I mean, I don't know where you get those structure ID numbers from, but they should be associated with the bridge number.
Yeah, it should be in the data that we're pulling
Right.
For the washed up bridge information, so that they're interchangeable from that standpoint. But what Mohammed's saying is they actually give the highway number and the identifier that he's talking about, so it helps a little bit with showing exactly where it might be without having to go into it and research it.
So what is that field name, or do we know in the data what that exact field name is?
I guess I don't know what you have. It should be, you should have something bridge number.
Just bridge number. Okay. Yep, we can look through that and pull that out and pull that instead. That'll be more than that should be a really easy change which field it's pulling from.
Thank you, Michelle.
Sure.
All right. So, if we look through here, and as you can see, we have an approve and deny option here also. Once your review is good, you have the ability to hit approve, and then it asks you to confirm. You'll need to confirm or cancel the approval, but you do need to click confirm. And once you do that, it will give you a message that the survey was, the bridge study was approved successfully. It gets removed from this list. And if we look up 146, we got to change this to approved studies and look up 146. And you can see it does tell us that this user approved this particular bridge study at this time and date.
So who has authority to approve certain bridges, or certain anything over 200,000? Let me put it this way.
Well, the person that would be approving these bridges would have to have permissions to do so, because the permission to approve or access these to approve these bridge studies comes down to permissions that we could assign to different users.
And Mohammed, that'd be you and your team.
Okay.
So for now, we're not actually doing any analysis at this point in time in the system. So the goal at this point was to provide you something that would be hopefully useful for you to, use in your desktop application or to use in your processes that you currently use. So you can come back to this page in the system and either add a comment to a particular bridge if you need to, or approve or deny these list of bridges that are crossed for this permit so that it can go forward in the workflow. Obviously, that's not the long-term goal. We want to work with your bridge data and be able to do a lot of the work in the system for you. But for now, it's just providing you a list, making sure, a list of bridges crossed. If there's something different or more that you need in the spreadsheet to be able to, assist in any way with that still manual process, and we'd like to add that to the spreadsheet as well. But what we want to show you is just what your team there in the structures group would be able to look at in eSNOOPI Pro and how you approve or deny this bridge study so that it continues the workflow.
And Michelle or Kit, can you describe that workflow, how the notices to their office would be received and what that could look like?
Sure. I can take this, Michelle.
Sure, go right ahead.
All right. So once a bridge gets a status of bridge study, our expectation is that at some point the system will email out an email to specific users that says, hey, there's this bridge study that's pending your review. And I can show you an example of what an email like that would look like from one of our other projects. For example, the state of Idaho here. If we go look at this is an example here that an email was sent to Brandy, myself, and a group with the bridge group with Idaho, where it basically says, hey, permit or bridge study ID such and such has been submitted for review. The bridge study is associated with permit ID 403450. That's some of the basic information we could put on, and a notice or an email that would get sent out to either a distribution group that you guys would have, or any individual personnel that you would like to have added to this particular email chain.
So Kit, would you start the workflow kind of like just explaining what you may have in the very beginning, but like a customer starts a permit and then kind of how it goes from there?
Sure. So let me log out and I'll log in as a customer user, and I can just show you guys what that looks like from the beginning here. So what I'll do is I'll just I'm now logged in as a customer. As you can see here, I can see my company dashboard. I have access to my company management. So this tells me that I logged in as a customer user, no longer as a Watchdog user. So as the user or as the customer, I have the ability to copy permits, and I'll just go ahead and copy the one that we were just working with. And what this does is it creates a copy of the previous permit, which means that I won't have to complete, the information that's associated to the new application. It'll just pull in the information that was already inputted into the original application, which allows me to go ahead and quickly click next through this permit application. The dimensions are already all entered. And here we're on the axle weights and spacings page. And again, these are just some axle weights and spacings that I had entered in. And this, the spacing and the weight may not make sense, but it was just something that I had put on so we could go ahead and get a
Before
bridge
you
study.
proceed,
Yes, sir.
can you display configuration so Mohammed and his team can see that?
Yeah. Here we go.
Thank
And then
you.
you have the side view. That's, of course, the defaults of the side view. If you click top view, it'll give you the top view these of the configuration.
And Mohammed will have the 8 tire axles with the 3 spacings that you're looking for on those 8 tire axles as well, from included.
I mean, you can include them, I guess. I mean, still, I don't think, even if this application was able to, to do the typical permit, the 8 tire axles, it will not do. So, I
Yeah,
don't know if that's how, how we deal with that.
it's just capturing the same data that we're collecting now on paper into
Okay.
this format. So it's the configuration, the spacings, the tire sizes, the weights per axle, which are all things that we have to provide for preservation so you can perform your analysis on them. So it's capturing it in one spot, and then it's telling you all the bridges that they're crossing over in that form, in that downloadable spreadsheet.
Okay.
Thanks, Kit. Good.
Yes, sir. All right. Which is, I've already got a route here because, like I said, we copied an existing permit. So it copies over our latitude and longitudes, which is hit route. So as the customer, they actually have a list of cross bridges that shows them which bridges are being crossed. Bridges crossed on route. I'll type in 0 for local mileage. And hit next. Then on the summary page, we'll just go ahead and hit submit. So this permit is going to get submitted with a status of bridge study. And if we go back to our dashboard, the customer can see that it's got a status of bridge study. They cannot do anything further with the permit. They cannot modify the application or anything like that, but they can copy it to create a new permit application if they wish, but they cannot modify this existing application while it's in the bridge study status.
So I didn't see it, but how do you enter the milepost, the route and the milepost?
So routing is a little bit different in this automated routing system. We don't yet have mileposts in the system to be routed by mileposts. That is something that we're talking to Justin about implementing in the future.
So what do you mean you don't? So how do you know which bridges they're gonna cross if you don't have the milepost?
I will copy this one. We'll get back to the route page. I'll show you our routing here. So based on the GIS data that we have and the locations of the bridges that we have, I've got a latitude and longitude here. And this latitude and longitude is just something that the user can select on the screen or on the map. So they can drop a lat long point on the map anywhere where there's a green highlighted route. So once they do that, they have the option to select border crossing also, or even enter an address or an intersection. And like I said, something like I said, something that we are discussing adding is the milepost options that we're talking to Justin about adding at a future enhancement. So that is something that's going to be coming along. But as of right now, we don't have the milepost options in here just yet. So once you
Okay.
use,
Yeah, I mean, for us, we need that. We need the milepost. We need the route, basically similar to the system we have. Basically, the carrier would enter the route, and then they start where the milepost starts and where it ends. I mean, I don't know, longitude 48 or 122 doesn't make sense to me. And for our review, it's, that's, we need the route beginning and ending for each um, highway.
Okay, well, just show Kit how you get the route right now, because the customer, Mohammed has many different ways or several different ways to get this route, but let's show you like what it looks like at the end of the day for you and for the customer. This is a pretty short route, it looks like.
yes.
So when you zoom in on the map, it shows you the green circle, which was the origin, and the red circle, which was the destination. So we have that information. And then when Kit scrolls down and shows you the turn-by-turn driving directions, it shows you where, they're starting on Washington 532 here by the I-5 ramp. So it's not a milepost per se, like you're used to looking at, but it does show you where in the state that they're traveling. And this would have a list of bridges along this route in order that they're crossed whenever you get the Excel sheet or whenever you go to the bridge study screen and generate the Excel sheet.
And from a dimension standpoint, Mohammed, the routes and mileposts that we use in eSNOOPI, they don't account for spur routes, off ramps, on ramps, or any type of business route. It's just main lines, almost like it's treating every intersection as a stop sign. And all those connectors are not included in the routing, which we've run into issues with vertical clearance, the longer loads being able to navigate some of the clover leaves, and with point to point routing isn't working for the dimensional aspect of it. We're going to get mileposts added to this, so it's going to show the milepost. If you were to look at that screen that Kit has up right now, it would potentially be somewhere in I can't the bolded area where it would say beginning milepost and ending milepost for each route. But this way, for an automated route to display and to use all the connectors, it's important that we have it this way instead of state highway beginning at milepost 1 and ending at milepost 20, because no true highway is just a stop and start like that without having those connectors. And we've never accounted for those connectors. And I don't know if we have any weight restrictions on connectors right now, but for us to have something like that, we have to put that restriction on the main line and then attribute it to the off ramp or the on ramp. And it's not an easy process.
We can discuss later offline, Justin. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, looking at this is, it's hard for me, I mean, to try and just go back and try to put it back together, the way that we process it. The other thing, I don't, looking at that, I don't think we need the kilometers. I don't know, anyway, we can discuss this offline.
Yeah, the kilometers are on there. They're on the current permits too, the actual permit, because we have so many Canadian carriers. Those are the driving directions for them, so they know that they're traveling, 1.26 miles from their origin, and then they're going to take the I-5 on ramp from Washington 532. So it's similar to how we see like a Google driving direction or Waze or Apple Maps, from getting them to their origin to their destination.
I also think today we just want to make sure that even though this, obviously this layout's very different than what you're accustomed to, it has been for the permit office as well. We really want to make sure that, you know, you're familiar with the bridge study page and how we're generating that list of bridges so that, you know, you can get comfortable with that list and that process so that whenever these larger permits start getting issued, um, you know, you're comfortable and familiar with what you're reviewing. So our main thing here was to show you, like, this is the customer experience. The customer goes in and they order a permit and they get their route that they want and they process through the application. And when they get to the end of the application knows, you know, based on my weight or my axle spacings or both, this permit requires, you know, the bridge office to do a review. And so the customer submits the permit. It first goes to the permit office. So they can first do a cursory review of it for anything that they would normally check before they send it off to bridge preservation. The permit office is going to review the application and, you know, they would determine if they needed any uploaded documents or anything like that that might prove helpful. But once they submit it, once the permit office finishes their initial review, they're going to submit it and it's going to come to that bridge study link on the left-hand navigation where your office could look at it and take a look at the bridges and, you know, produce that list, do what you all now do externally, and then come back to the system to either approve or deny that list of bridges for that particular vehicle.
So is there a way, like from the bridge study, that basically it kind of summarizes, you know, where on the route, like if they're going on an I-5, okay, where they're starting, where they're ending, and then submit that, kind of give a summary?
Sure, I'm going to go back on mute and let Kit go back to the actual bridge study so we can take a look at that.
Yes. So let me log back in here as the bridge user. And back on the bridge study screen, this is the permit that I just submitted. Once we open that up, again, you can see the roadway and milepost on their screen. But if you click on this permit ID, it is a URL. If you click on it, it does open up what we call the permit details page. This gives you access to additional information on the permit, whether it's just this general information here. But the interesting thing for you that you were just asking, Muhammad, would be located on the route page. If you click that, it does give you the information that the customer was seeing on their end. You know, it gives you the route generated, the total trip mileage. It even gives you the turn-by-turn directions down at the bottom here. But it also gives you this map. So we click load map. It gives you the blue highlighted route with the origin and destination. And then it gives you this crosses bridge layers here too, which gives you, you know, which tells you the 3 bridges that it's that are crossed on this particular route. Does this kind of give you what you were looking for, Mohammed?
Not exactly. I mean, you know, map doesn't do me any, you know, it doesn't tell me anything. I mean, it's, we need to see milepost. We need to see milepost for each highway, start and beginning. I mean, I cannot correlate, for example, I'm looking at this map, I cannot correlate, you know, I cannot tell where's the milepost on this. Okay, I mean, to some extent, I mean, we, at least in my unit, most of us, know our bridges on the highway. We know from this, where our let's see, hot bridges on a route based on a milepost on a system. We know it offhand. We've been doing it for a long time. So, but here, yeah, I'm looking at this. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't tell me anything.
We're definitely working on getting that milepost data. We just received it within the last couple of months to do the restrictions so that we could do restrictions based off of milepost. I don't know for sure that any milepost data that we get is going to line up exactly with what you have. I would assume it would, unless I don't know what your data source is for those milepost numbers. Do you additionally have flat longs for those bridge locations or just a milepost number?
No, I mean, basically, I mean, the carrier, I mean, they used to get it off the, our state mileposts, where highways intersect with each other, and then they started there. Yeah, no, I did not get long or latitude of any of the structures.
Okay, well, we'll look in the data that in the bridge data that you sent us. Does it have like the milepost number that you would associate to that bridge? Because obviously some of them are not an exact number. It may be
Each bridge should have a milepost. There's, in our system on our highways, each bridge would have a milepost.
okay. Well, then we can look in that data, and if we don't find it, we'll just ask you where it's located and figure out a way on that Excel sheet to display that with that bridge number. If you have the correct bridge number that you're looking for, not the ID that we're using, and that milepost number, that would be sufficient. I mean, would it meet what you need to locate the bridge? Maybe not everything you need, obviously, for analysis. But
Well, I mean, I mean, by telling me the bridge number, I can locate it. But when we are reviewing a permit, it's easier for us to look at where they're starting, where they're ending on a highway. Like I said, we know our system. We've been doing this for a while. It's easier for us and quicker for us to do a review when we know which milepost they're gonna cross, rather than
Right.
just try to go follow, I don't know how how that information is gonna be relayed to us.
So when a customer picks a route, even once we add milepost, they don't have to use that milepost option. They have 4 or 5 other routing options that they can use. So we can't assume that the customer is always going to use that option. So I want to make sure that what we display to you for your list of bridges works for what you're looking for.
No, I mean, I don't know what you mean. They have 4 or 5.
They can choose to enter at the Spokane, or excuse me, the Washington Idaho border, and travel to the Washington Oregon border, and it provides the route. It filters based off of restrictions, weight restrictions, vertical clearance, dimensional restrictions, and provides them a route from the Idaho border to the Oregon border. So they don't always have to choose a state route milepost to begin their or end their route. And Michelle, the all points data feed that Elizabeth Lanzer provided does have state route milepost on there. But on this, Mohammed, if you had if you knew that those check marks indicated structures that the carrier's crossing, and those check marks had mileposts associated to them on the state highway, would that be a useful thing for you? Because now you know it's I-5 and there's, you know, at milepost such and such, there's a structure with the structure ID. You know, the green balloon is their origin, the red balloon's their destination. And that's comparing the structures on the route from the list that we have from you. So those would be the only 3 structures that they're crossing on this particular route.
I guess we can move on. We can move on.
Alrighty. Michelle just sent me a message that she has lost internet, but she should be back up and running here shortly. So, all right. And again, that's just the map that you can load and hide there. So going back to our bridge studies screen here. And again, we do have a column for mileposts for each of these bridges. And that's something, I mean, once you know, we take another look at the data, that's something we can put here too for each of these bridges. You know, and I think that would be helpful to you, Mahab, and your team, to see the mileposts listed here as well. So. All right. So that's basically the process, Mohammed. The customer, you know, creates permits that require, you know, that crosses bridges and then ultimately requires a bridge review. The permit gets a status of bridge study. The permit gets submitted because it cannot be self-issued. It gets submitted to your team for review. Your team has access to the bridge studies link on the left-hand side, which gives you access to each individual bridge study that's been created for permits. You can then manage each of these bridge studies on the bridge study screen itself here. Gives you the ability to manage each of these bridges. You can look at other actions, which gives you the ability to export the axles to an Excel sheet or export the study itself, which would include, you know, the bridges, the structure names, and then of course the bridge number that we're going to be adding. It gives you all of that in the export to Excel. And then you also have the ability to approve or deny each of these bridge studies on this particular screen. So did you have any other questions on what that process kind of looks like, and you know, what we would need from you on your end for each of these bridge studies?
Sorry, guys, I lost internet there. I have a wireless card up now, so hopefully it's working okay. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm not sure what I missed, so I apologize. So we're going to add the milepost for the bridge. If the customer selects milepost for their origin and destination, obviously we can show that as part of the route as well. I think Amanda was showing, and y'all may have shown it on the map, how it does display that bridge number. Just make sure this is the number we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So on the map itself, in permit details, we do need to add the Michelle. We do need to add the bridge number to this little hover right here, and then I think it would be helpful.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was thinking when you. So Amanda was saying when you click those, it shows the numbers. And I just want to verify that's the number we're looking for.
So right now, we're not displaying that number in permit details, it looks like.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, not in
Yeah.
permit details. It
I
shows
was in
the
a
number.
permit application.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Sorry. Okay, so we'll keep that in the hover. We'll make sure there's enough information in the click as well that provides information that they would need. So once we get this looking like what you, the information that you need, Mohammed, how do you feel about the process itself to be able to come to the bridge review link when you get an email that you have a pending permit, be able to print that list of bridges with the information that you're going to need, and then be able to come back to the system and mark that bridge review as approved or denied? Are you still there?
I mean,
Mohammed? I'm sorry.
I'm here. I mean, I'm trying to absorb the information. I mean, this is kind of a new.
It's a lot. It's a lot of info.
Yeah, and if I want to see if this is simplifying the work for us or more complicating it for us. What our process today. So anyway, I need to kind of think about it a little more.
Sure. All right, well, let us work on getting the display to be more what you're looking for and to pull in the bridge number that you're expecting to see along with the milepost associated to that bridge and see if it seems like it would be more of a useful tool for you. I mean, the system providing you a list of bridges in the order that they're crossed, is that not more information than you currently get, or?
I mean, that information, I mean, I can, I mean, we have our own system. I mean, I can get that information for any route. Give me initial milepost and end of milepost, and I can get all the bridges. I mean, there are certain things we look at, anyway, so that's not a, I mean, it's not difficult or it's not like time consuming to do that, for us anyway. So the question I have is, what are there any safeguards on the haulers, or the carriers when they start playing with the spacing and then to come up with the weight or the permit they want? I mean, I mentioned this to Justin, and I think I mentioned it to you. I think I mentioned to you guys, at the beginning with this process is.
Yes, you did.
Since Snoopy started, we have never denied a load for weight. And that's surprising because we used to. Now, because everybody goes in and they just, okay, this is, it tells them the weight. And,
well, so far, we're not issuing those heavy loads right now on eSNOOPI Pro. We haven't released that part yet.
No, I understand. But, when we have, when they are able to figure the weights on eSNOOPI, we stopped denying any loads for weight. It seems to me that you can manipulate.
Mohammed,
yeah,
we are denying those loads before they get to you, but we're getting quite a few of them in our office. So we're filtering them before they get to your office. So we would expect that you guys don't have to deny anything because we're catching them before.
How are you catching them?
Just using, we're looking at the axle groupings and making sure they're not exceeding per axle on any of those axle groupings or any individual axles or their gross axle. We're not going as detailed. We're not like taking axles 2 through 12 and and looking at that, but we're looking at every axle group, every single axle, and the gross weight. But we do catch quite a few of them before they get to your office because we're checking them here, and that is really time consuming for us. And that the part of it too is the way the system's designed, the new system, it doesn't let someone just create an axle spacing report. For example, if they have a 14 axle combination or a 12 axle combination and it gives them 280,000 pounds, whatever it might be, they still have to provide their weights per axle now. Whereas in eSNOOPI, they do not do that. And if it's not a super load, it's under 200,000 pounds. eSNOOPI will let someone take 70,000 pounds on a Triton where it shouldn't. It doesn't know any better. It's not smart enough to configure the weights per axle and prevent them. So the self-issuers that are issuing permits are getting away with whatever, unless we catch them in our self-issuer reviews, which we're looking at about 6% of all permits that are issued, and there's somewhere around 600 permits a day that are getting issued. Multiply that, it's a couple 100,000 permits a year, and of those, I don't know how many are weight, but probably about half of them that are self-issued, that we can't prevent people from issuing improper permits if we're only capturing 6% of them. The new system limits their weights per axle. It does do the calculation based off the statute to prevent them from entering something that they're higher than. Now, if they decide they're going to enter something lower, then they're going to have an invalid permit. The weigh stations will have access to these permits. They're going to get fed directly to their desktop at all the enforcement locations. So they'll see what the customer entered on their screen and be able to take enforcement action on them. It's a far better system than what we have. The routing side is going to take some getting used to. It'd be great if we can get those mileposts added. And I think that's not just from your office, that's our office that wants to see that. That's all of our agents that are actually in the system right now issuing route-specific permits. We definitely want to see mileposts. And we know when we open the gates to our customers, the self-issuers, they're going to be lost because they're so used to mileposts as well. So that's a big must that we want to have. But everything aside from that, it's going to show you all the structures they crossed in the order that they're crossing them. It's going to show you weights per axle. It's going to give you diagrams of the vehicle configuration, and everything right there with one click to get to be able to display that bridge study. So it'll make the customer's job easier for the routing. You're not spending all that time hunting down mileposts from their aspect, which takes a lot of time, and it gives a lot of user error. If you're not seeing the ones that are less than 200,000 pounds, we're not seeing the ones that are less than 200,000 pounds. We get a bunch of them that are putting their milepost as 0 on every state highway they touch. Beginning at milepost 0, and I'm going 100 miles, ending at milepost 100, which is, it's not accurate. It doesn't display it right. The restrictions that we have posted in eSNOOPI don't display on their permit because they have them in ascending order or descending order, opposite of what the actual restriction truly is. So the system now will do so many more things to prevent bad permits, and it will make it easier for people to permit to begin with. It'll make it a more user-friendly experience. The data that we get back will be far and away better than what we have. The support team that we have in place right now, it's just Ryan Hilton, and Ryan's not around every day. Sometimes when he can get back to us, it's about 24 hours later. I think we have to give it a chance. That's what we're asking for, is to get your feedback, to tell us what you want to see while we still can add these things to it and make that experience better for you and your team. But at the same time, it's making it better for my office. It's making it better for the industry. And it's making it way better for enforcement to take action on the kind of the rogue people that are going to lie. They're just going to say what they are, say what they want to say, and nothing's going to stop them from putting weights less than what they truly are. And this tool, this program, will allow those those self-issuers to, or excuse me, those enforcement officers to quickly see a permit and take action on a permit that's wrong. And I think that's where we've been missing that mark for so long. Most of the officers don't even know how to get into eSNOOPI, our current one, and that's if they have the access to it at that moment in time. These ones will have a QR code on the permit. All they have to do is scan if they're roadside, or excuse me, away from the weigh station. All they have to do is scan it and they get the whole permit information, everything. Weights per axle, dimensions. They get everything about that vehicle. And so I know that we're going to get more bad carriers caught doing the things that they've been used to doing because they can get away with it. But in the long run, this is going to be a better program for the agency, for the infrastructure, for the carriers, for everybody. And just those things that we can tweak to make it better for your experience, let's do it. I'm all for it. But this is going to be where we're going. We have to go this way. And eSNOOPI was developed in 1999, and it is well past its prime. We can't make it better. It's going to have to go to SAW if we kept eSNOOPI. Ryan already told me the SAW login process would be too much for eSNOOPI. We can't afford to keep eSNOOPI limping along. We got a federal grant for this program. ProMiles won the bid because they have the most premier program in the country, and they're the group we're going with. And so let's make it the way we want it. All right.
All right, so Justin is hired for our marketing team. Thanks, Justin. That's all great feedback. I appreciate it. Muhammad, we're going to make this what you need it to be. I mean, it is going to be different from what you're accustomed to, I know, but we do want to give you the most useful information you can have. So let us get the milepost and bridge number, the correct bridge number you need to see, add it to this Excel sheet so that you can have a better reference point of what you're looking at. And we can circle back in just a couple of days, maybe early next week at the latest, and just we can even just send you screenshots if you like in a new Excel sheet from a route to see if it's what you would like to see. And then if it is, we can schedule another call to just go over the approval process. So just from your initial look at this, is there anything else you would like us to take back at this pass that you've thought of that you would like to see in that Excel sheet that comes to you as well? Okay, so while you're kind of just taking in all this.
I mean, if you, I'm sorry, if you're talking to me, I guess, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, right. I'm, for our needs, I'm not interested with all the bridge number, all the list of bridges. I mean, you want to list them, I mean, that's fine, but I'm not interested. You give me the initial and end of my post for each highway, I can figure the rest out. We can figure it out.
Well, it's important for us that we're sending you that list of bridges, even if you choose not to use it at this point, because that's what the system will be displaying when we move to analysis. So if you could confirm the list is what you're expecting, even if you're going to generate your own list, if you could confirm that the list we're providing you is also correct based on what you're looking at. So we'll get these few changes done and email you what this looks like. And we'll go from there for planning our next steps and next meeting. So does anyone else from the bridge office or bridge preservation have any other questions or comments? Okay, anybody from the permit office?
No, Michelle, thank you for the demonstration. Okay.
No, y'all are very welcome. Very welcome. Our team, GIS or PMT, anybody have anything you've thought of we could add? All right, if not, then we'll go ahead and drop. We've taken a few, we have a few takeaways from this, and we'll take that and get it back to you. Thank you so much for attending today.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a
Thank
good
you all. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.